Before we get into this video, I just wanted to point out that I'm getting some comments along the lines of, you're gonna change your mind when you get sick, when your family gets sick. This doctor would change his tune when everybody around them starts getting sick, when people in your neighborhood start dying, or I wish you would get sick. Basically, those kinds of comments, right? And these are the people that are trying to imply that I'm somehow evil when my wish is that, well, not just my wish, but from what I'm seeing, this disease isn't very serious, right? And my wish is that it weren't. Ultimately, I don't know, but I'm the evil person because I don't see a big problem and I'm hoping that it isn't. And they're the good people wishing that, people die from it. So think about that. Think about what it is that you're saying. Anyway, a lot of people have noticed that Channel 4 News used a mannequin in covering this so-called pandemic. So let's talk about it. First of all, I've seen this shot recycled many times. Inside of a hospital, little sign that says attention visitors, and it talks about the current situation, right? Brookdale Hospital in New York. While at the same time we're being told by these people who are saying, well, this is why the parking lots are empty, is because you can't go visit anybody. Well, it looks like you actually can. So can you? Can you not? Probably depends on the hospital. But what this definitely does is create a lot of confusion, okay? Don't be confused.
And in intensive care, only some of them don't get to leave alive.
So the clear implication is that that's a dead body right there. And maybe it is. Maybe it's another mannequin. Who knows, right? But whatever the case may be, please don't tell me that it's not ethical, okay, to show a patient inside of a hospital being worked on, right? As long as you blur out their face or you cover their face with the mask, please don't tell me it's unethical to do that, right? I hope that makes sense. Or is this a mannequin?
Wheeled away like so many others. The New York governor today...
Then you see the screen of what I think is a ventilator with the date March 30th, 2020, 1 p.m.
begged President Trump to send help now, saying...
And we cut to what looks like an instructional video on how to use this respiratory machinery.
Been forced to buy ventilators from China because it was like bidding on eBay.
And then you cut to this infamous mannequin, right? Now what is that? Well, it's obviously a mannequin. Maybe it's just an instructional video for the people inside of the hospital, right? And for the news and so on and so forth. They got some ventilators and they're showing some of their staff how to use them. I don't know. Clearly, this is what it's supposed to be. It looks like it's a shot from Rush Medical, maybe in Chicago. And there's a sign on the wall talking about mannequins, right? So they're just using instructional footage. Now, why can't they use footage of somebody getting intubated, like a person, right? A patient. Well, maybe they weren't there to catch that happening. Maybe they didn't get anyone's permission, right? Who knows? It doesn't matter. I mean, this is just so blatantly obvious. I'm not going to say that I know what the reason is for them using this. I could only ask questions and posit certain things. But whether intended or not, this brings in a lot of confusion and helps to divide people, because as soon as you point it out and you try to push this as, quote unquote fake news, well, I mean, come on, don't be a simpleton, all right? Anybody can see that this is a mannequin and most likely an instructional video. Now, are the news using this on purpose to confuse people, to make it seem like people or to make people say that, oh, they're using mannequins everywhere? so that you look like a nutcase because it's so obvious that it is a mannequin and that it is an instructional video. And just because this is so, that doesn't mean that all of these bodies or so-called people are mannequins. It doesn't necessarily mean that, right? It makes you look like you're a little overzealous, you're a little paranoid, you're a little crazy, because to the average person, this looks like it's just an instructional video. Like, it's pretty clear, right? They do this sometimes. And you trying to push this idea that they're somehow trying to say that this is a real person, it does make you look crazy. You know what I mean? And basically, it divides people, it creates a lot of confusion, and it makes you miss other pertinent, very important things. But maybe they're also, in a way, suggesting that, look, we do use mannequins, right? For those in the know, or for more intelligent people to catch on. Maybe, I don't know. But when you look at the beginning of this video,
through this of all you.
This right here, look at the hand of what's supposed to be a person, I guess. And look, maybe it's another one of those training videos. I doubt it. But the color of that hand, and look at how it flops.
US deaths in one single city. And day to hospitals across the city. Nearly 1,000 people have died here, roughly a third of all US deaths in one single city.
I don't know. Maybe it's a dead person that just turned yellow. Maybe it's a mannequin. Who knows? But it looks weird.
Night
It looks
and day
suspect.
to hospitals across the city. Nearly 1,000 people have died here, roughly a third of all US.
This is why. Don't automatically think that you know exactly what's going on. Ask questions. I think it's good to ask questions, but don't just... You're going to turn a lot of people off if you just say, fake, that's a mannequin. You could clearly tell, because can you? I mean, maybe this person had jaundice or something. I don't know. To me, it looks fake, okay? The hand looks fake. I think it's a mannequin, but do I have any proof? Could this be a real person? It could. But what else is going on in this shot? What else are we seeing that doesn't seem to add up? Well, for starters, why isn't an ambulance in one of the bays? Why is it facing away from what I presume is a hospital, right? And if, the answer to that is, well, that's because all the bays are taken. Well, okay, if you pull an ambulance into the bay, you unload a corpse, or I don't know why you would bring a corpse to the hospital, but you unload a sick person, you pull out, you pull the other ambulance in. Is that really going to take more time than them wheeling this person from far away, where they're not even facing the hospital? Is it really? No. So why are they facing away from the hospital? Why aren't they closer to one of the bays or a door? Why are they so far away from the hospital, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's like they're giving the news a better angle, right? It's like they're doing this for the news. It's like they're creating the news. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that that's a mannequin, or that that's not a person that's sick, but I think these are legitimate questions. It just looks weird. Wait for one of the ambulances to pull out of there, back in, and unload the person into the bay. One of those docks, right? It's weird. This doesn't make much sense. It's like it's set up for the camera, basically. That's what that looks like. And it's not like we're seeing... People are going out to these hospitals in New York, and they're not seeing one ambulance after another. They're seeing a bunch of ambulances just sitting outside of the hospital idle. That's what the people are seeing, right? You look on the news and they're saying it's a war zone, and it's not. And it just looks weird. They're not really showing you all these patients that they say they have, and if the excuse is it's for ethical reasons, then why can't you blur out their faces? If you could show someone who's dead, supposedly, or even do this, right? If we're supposed to think that this is a person, And why can't you show more people sick in the hospital, right? Is it because they're not in there? Who knows? It's not so important to, you know, have an exact answer to what's happening, because you might fall into this trap of looking like a loony, pointing out what's obvious. Don't point out what's obvious. Ask questions about the things that just don't look right, things that don't add up. Instead of being so opinionated and so strong in your opinions that you turn people off, point out some of these little things and ask questions. That makes a lot more sense, I think, and it makes you look more sane, and it's a way to reach more people. Because again, if you just point out the obvious, like, oh, look, it's a mannequin. Well, no shit, it's a mannequin. There's even a sign on the wall that says it's a mannequin. Are you telling me they're trying to convince me that this is a real person? And look, maybe they are. Maybe a lot of people are so dumbed down. Don't ever think that there aren't many intertwined agendas, goals, things going on in any one instance. Don't ever assume that you're smarter than the people who shut down the whole world. Don't ever assume that they're just incompetent. Don't ever assume that the things that they do, that they make all these mistakes. The thing you should assume is that they know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose. What that purpose is, who knows exactly, but it just blows my mind how so many people, the way they excuse what's going on is by saying, oh, governments are incompetent. Really? Incompetent governments shut down the whole world? The whole world economy because they're incompetent? Are you insane? Anyway, it could be that they're trying to, one of the agendas is to blur reality, right? Because when Trump came out with the whole fake news thing, he was basically normalizing fake news. That's what he was doing. And it obviously was fake news. And a lot of this obviously is fake news. And they're blurring that line, and they're pushing it maybe more and more and more. It's like that red folder turning green on the news all of a sudden. Now, that could have been a whistleblower showing you, like, this is what we can do with this technology. Don't ever trust the news. It could be the elites communicating with other elites, showing them exactly the same thing. This is the ability we have. This is what we can do. Showing off their technology, showing off what they're able to do. It could be that. It could also be a way of getting people to accept that, to just blur reality and fantasy. Finally getting to a point where the news is all CGI and people just accept it. Just predictively programming you to accept bullshit as reality. Whether on some level you want to reject it and you're experiencing cognitive dissonance, it doesn't make any sense. Ultimately, maybe they're hoping you'll accept it anyway. They're pushing it little by little, putting all these little clues and cues for some people and predictively programming others. I don't know, right? Where it's going to get to a point where it's just a video game. And another aspect of this is happening in the sports world, okay? Because sports have been shut down. And I've always, when I would talk about boxing, I would often point out that all you're seeing is pixels on the screen. Granted, if you go to the live event, that's different. But for the vast majority of us, people have externalized who they are, and they've embraced these idols when ultimately all that they are to you is pixels on a screen. I've been trying to communicate that to people for years, right? And what are some of these sports leagues doing right now? I was watching World Boxing Super Series, right? And they have all these fantasy fights. All these, essentially just video games, right? Ali versus Mike Tyson, or maybe it was Frazier. I forget who the people were, but it's boxers that could have never fought each other in reality, right? They have all these simulations going on right now. Bundesliga has, they're essentially playing video games instead of playing back highlights of games, right? This is what's happening, people. Reality is becoming virtual on many levels. In my opinion, I'm not saying it's going to happen right away, but they're going to cancel sports, and all that you will have is virtual sports. This is the push. This is why they need 5G, because the bandwidth demands, and I'm not saying 5G is healthy either. I'm not saying that. But this is why they need 5G, because bandwidth demands are going to go through the roof. People are going to be homeschooling their kids, or someone's going to be homeschooling your kids remotely, right? There's going to be remote education, like Masterclass and Domestica, something I talked about in another video. There's, forget about sports, man. It's all going to be virtual now. You're all just going to be doing what a lot of you have already been doing, playing video games. Now you're going to be, and watching people play video games. That's what you're going to be, that's what sports is going to become. That's what they want it to become eventually. And we're seeing this drastic shift where they're starting to blend reality and virtual reality. That's what's happening. I think that's the bigger picture. That's my opinion. I really, truly hope that I'm wrong. I really do. But this is something that I've been noticing for a very long time now, and it's materializing. And to me, this is fascinating. So, if it makes you feel better to call me a bad guy while wishing death and disease on me and my family, well, fuck. Cognitive dissonance is how they're able to get you to accept this shit. It is what it is. Thank you for watching.